Every 2 years, the heads of government of the Commonwealth countries meet together to discuss matters of mutual interest. This year, they met in Africa. And once again, the meeting demonstrated the great value of personal contact and the desire of all the leaders to settle their differences in the friendly spirit of a family gathering. All 39 full members of the Commonwealth were represented there. And, as is usual on these occasions, I entertained them on the first evening. We've had a very interesting time here. As you know, we've been here for 2 or 3 days before you all arrived. You've had a very busy day, haven't you?
Very busy, well? But I think very good. So far.
So far, so good. You're still all on speaking terms, are you?
We have met again and again and found that the previous things we talked about so bad weren't ultimately so bad.
I'm afraid we are overworking Her Majesty.
Oh, no, I'm enjoying myself. We were talking today, the Prime Minister having been to visit Mauritius.
Yes.
He said that he thought he'd given you quite a busy time travelling around the country.
I'm so sorry to Her Majesty. I think I tired you out a bit.
I didn't tire you out.
No, I'm quite sure.
At the end of the day, he was still sparkling and I was a little bit...
But you see...
But Mrs. Woolton liked her.
But you see, you're the same generation as my mother. And there's something extraordinary about this generation.
Yes.
See, my mother is the same... I think she's about the same age as you.
Yes.
And there's no stopping them.
Absolutely.
One of the main objectives of heads of government is to make the world a better place for the next generation. This year is the International Year of the Child, and the Commonwealth has always stressed the importance of our young people. So when we were in Africa, we arranged to meet some of them.
All right. See if I can get it right where you all come from. Mauritius? Malawi? Zambia? Lesotho, sorry. England. Zambia. Guyana, Zambia, Tanzania, Ghana, Jamaica, Canada, and India. All right?
What language do you speak at home?
I speak Gujarati at home.
Yeah?
Sometimes I speak English because I don't know a lot of Gujarati.
Are you better in English than Gujarati? Was your father born in Kenya, or did he come from India?
He was born in Kenya.
But you're from Mauritius, and you're going to be an air hostess for Air Mauritius?
Yes.
I see. I must fly with it sometime. See you in the future. What are you going to do?
I'll be an artist.
An artist?
Yes.
What sort of artist? Sculptor or a painter or what?
Painter.
Painter. And you, sir, what are you going to do when you finish?
I'm a pilot.
You're going to be a pilot?
Yes.
I see, just like me. I see. What are you going to fly? Helicopters or aeroplanes?
Helicopters.
Helicopters?
Yes.
And what are you going to do when you leave school?
I'll be a nurse.
A nurse?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said a nun earlier on.
No.
I see. What are you going to do?
I'm going to be a doctor.
A doctor? Nicola, you're going to be a nurse?
Yes.
I see. Where?
In England.
In England? I see.
Malawi used to be called Nyasaland.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know why? I discovered that when we were there the other day. Because when the people there were asked what the lake was, you know, that big lake,
Yeah.
they said that's Nyasa, meaning that's the lake.
Oh, in
And
their
of course
language it means lake.
That's right. So the British thought that was what it was called Nyasa. See? So it's not, so they changed it back to Malawi after that.
Got its name from Zambia's river.
Which?
Zambia got its name from Zambia's
Zambezi,
river.
that's right, yeah. And Tanzania used to be Tanganyika
Yeah.
and Zanzibar, and then they put the two together and called it Tanzania.
But before Zambia was independent, it was known as Northern Rhodesia, isn't it?
This was Northern Rhodesia, that's right, yes. And what is now Zimbabwe Rhodesia was Southern Rhodesia.
Yeah, Southern Rhodesia.
Yeah. And then Botswana used to be called Bechuanaland, that's right.
Later in the year, I visited a school in London. And since it is children who make the family, I found it interesting to hear what some of the younger generation thought about the family of Commonwealth nations. you can go and pick apples in Tasmania, and you can ride in an elephant there, and you can go and look at wild elephants in this part, you know, or you can go to Canada and go and, theoretically, well, you can go to the Rockies, yes, you can also theoretically see the midnight sun, you know, right up in the very, very north-west corner. Needless to say, the cloud came down, you didn't see it, but I mean, that was supposed to be there, you know.
I think probably the Commonwealth is more important than you see. I mean, I think we do really have to help these countries and look after them after occupying them, really.
And more money should really go on education in the underdeveloped countries, really.
What sort of education is it in the is there a lot of extensive education in the underdeveloped?
Most of the Commonwealth countries, I think, comparatively, have got a good education system. Obviously, even in lots of cases, it's just beginning.
I've been to school in Pakistan, and you have to buy your own books, and you have to basically kit yourself out. And that's just one sort of, that's a little example of the difficulties in education they have: lack of money, lack of teaching resources, and.
I think the Commonwealth's very good and that does do something for education, but I can't help thinking maybe it could do more.
When the Empire was around, you could really go out and serve the Empire and work in the Empire, but now it's probably much more difficult with the Commonwealth.
I think people are still very badly needed, you know, to go and work in these countries.
Say I want to become a doctor, okay, would it be easy for me to go and work in a place like Zambia, where doctors are needed?
I would think once you'd qualified, I would have thought
getting into medical school is a problem.
That's the difficult thing first. Get yourself qualified, and then I would think that if, you know, I mean, qualified people are the people they want.
I think for that reason the Commonwealth's very good for interchange of jobs.
Or the, you know, the VSO system, which you can go out before you, with voluntary service, you can go out and you can teach.
I think it's valuable experience for any young person to go on these sort of exchange trips to underdeveloped countries and maybe serve some sort of purpose there.
In this Year of the Child, people all over the world have been asked to give particular thought to the special needs of sick and handicapped children, to the hungry and homeless, and to those in trouble or distress wherever they may be found. It is an unhappy coincidence that political and economic forces have made this an exceptionally difficult and tragic year for many families and children in several parts of the world, but particularly in Southeast Asia. The situation has created a desperately serious challenge, and I'm glad to know that so many people of the Commonwealth have responded with wonderful generosity and kindness. It seems that the greater the needs of children, the more people everywhere rise to the occasion. My daughter, as president of the Save the Children Fund, saw some of these volunteers looking after refugee children in the Far East. Nowhere is the voluntary effort more active than in charities and organizations devoted to helping children to survive the hazards to which they have been subjected. The Year of the Child has emphasized the value of this work, but we mustn't forget that every generation has to face the problems of childhood and the stresses of growing up, and in due course the responsibilities of parents and adults. If they're handicapped in themselves, or by their family or community, their problems are all the more difficult. Children are born with a mixed package of emotions, talents, and handicaps, but without knowledge or experience. As they grow up, they have to learn to live with their parents and families, and they have to adjust to school, including the discovery of leisure activities and learning to handle their relationships with their contemporaries and with strangers. Schools, charities, and voluntary organizations and institutions can do a great deal to help. and I have admired their work in many parts of the world. But in the end, each one of us has a primary and personal responsibility for our own children, for children entrusted to our care, and for all the children in our own communities. There was no better illustration of adult involvement with young people than the scenes at the Great Fair in Hyde Park in May of this year. 80,000 children were there. Another of my most vivid memories of 1979, 5,000 miles away from London, is the happy welcome given to us by the children at a school in Africa.
Like this,
Christmas, we give presents to each other. Let us also stop to think whether we are making enough effort to pass on our experience of life to our children. Today we celebrate the birth of the child who transformed history and gave us a great faith. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God." I wish you all a very happy Christmas.